Okay people, in the shed today. I copped a bit of carnage the other day in the surf, and I got to fix this board. Doesn't look too bad from here, but if we have a look there, nice big chunk out of it. So doing a bit of DIY surfboard repair today. I'm no expert, but yeah, most of the time I can get things coming up looking alright. I'm not super fussy on looks, but shape is more, an issue for me. Just as long as it's the right shape, it's watertight, it's nice and strong, I'm happy. But yeah, if you want to stick around, have a look at this one with me, and I'll sort of show you how I do it. And yeah, again, no expert, but this should get you out of trouble. Okay people, this is what I'm going to be using to fix this ding in this board here. You can pick it up from pretty much any local surf shop. They've all got it. I won't go right through the kit, but you can pretty much see what it comes with there on the front. I mean, you can fix some pretty decent dings with this stuff, like there's a fair whack in the pack. Yeah, so I'll give you a bit of a demo as to how I do it and how I fix it, and yeah, you might be able to fix your own if you end up in this sort of situation. Step 1, hang the washing out so your wife doesn't get angry at you. Now this should keep you out of trouble, unless you've been married for over 20 years and your wife is over 40, then you're in trouble anyway. I do have a hot tip for you. Just don't breathe and you'll be fine. Okay, so this is the Stanley knife I use. You can just pick these up from Bunnings. They're got a bit of a curve to them. I've already sort of had a little bit of a go at this, but first thing you want to do is just cut any of the rough stuff that's sort of really sticking out, to take it back a little bit. You can actually gouge back a bit further than where the ding starts, and you want to sort of chamfer it into the ding. You can go a little bit wider and take a bit more off. It makes it a bit easier to finish it off after. Sort of if you spread it out a little bit more, because you can get your nice smooth angles once you sort of start shaping it back in. But yeah, just take the rough stuff off, and then what we want to do is, I just work on a side at a time. So I'm working on the front side here. I'm gonna get the grinder and just quickly grind this back and smooth it off a bit more, and just go a little bit deeper, because we want to take it, a little bit further back than where you want your finished surface to be, because you've got to allow for your glass and your filler and bits and bobs. So I'll get the grinder there now and give it a quick whack. Alright, so I've flipped the board over now. I'm doing the bottom side. The bottom side is a fair bit worse. You can see it's the fiberglass is really just sort of sticking up there. I'm going to do the exact same thing, so I'm going to cut this stuff off with the Stanley knife first, the real loose stuff, sort of carve it back a little bit. Then I'm going to get the grinder and I'm going to grind it out, come out a little bit wider, a little bit further than the actual gouge there, and just so when I go to blend it back in and fill it, I've got something to work with and it's coming back a bit further, giving a bit more strength there. So yeah, a bit hard to film this one, but I might just grind this one up and sort of show you the finished product. So yep, let's do that. Okay, I'll give you a look at the sort of final sanding that I've done there. You can see it's gouged out quite a bit, sort of taken a bit like fair way back further than what the actual finished product will be. So yeah, work on filling this section now. I'm going to start by putting some tape across the back edge just to create a flat surface so that I can put the filler in there and it's got something to mold to in terms of the shape. So I'll tape that up now. So basically I'm going to take this bottom section and then create a bit of a dam wall from the top and then pour the filler in. Doesn't matter if it goes a bit wider to start with, we'll sand it back, bring it down, so again it's sort of not at a finished surface level, it comes back a bit more. and then yeah, then we'll put the glass over and fill it up and get the final product on the end in terms of sanding and stuff. So yeah, that's what it can look like. You know, you sort of want to take as much as you can, but don't take too much. Try and maintain some sort of shape so you don't get too lost with it. And yeah, alright, let's do that. So that's what that looks like there now. I've just sort of pressed lightly on this section, just getting a little bit of that curve in there where I can, a little bit of the curve towards the front edge, wrapped it around a bit, and that'll create my surface when I pour from the other side and allow the filler to come in underneath that tape and keep some sort of shape there. Alright, so we'll flip the board over now, create a dam on this side with a rough shape, so that when we put the filler in there, it's got something to sort of shape to, so we just don't end up with it everywhere, you know. Okay, so we've flipped the board over now, and you can see this front edge there. I mean, she's peeled back a fair way, so yeah, I've come back a fair bit further. The shape's still sort of there. I've just got some bits and pieces to fill. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create some tape from here to this point here to create a bit of an edge. I mean, it'll be rough as, but once it dries and goes hard, I can sand it back, get some sort of shape. And remember, we're going further, we're going deeper in to make sure that the final product ends up right on the outside edge. So you're doing it in layers, so you always want to take off more and then build out, and then you can sand back to your finished surface level. So yeah, we'll mix up some, we'll put this tape on first, create this little dam, and then yeah, we'll put the filler in there, mix her up and fill it up a bit. Okay, so the bits and pieces we need: the resin, the Q-cell, which is essentially just like a bit of a filler. If you put it into the resin, mix it up, makes it look nice and white and pretty. You've also got the hardener. So what I do is I pour a bit of the resin into these cups. You just get them from Bunnings and get like a pack of friggin' 30 for, I don't know, $2 or something. And then yeah, add a bit of Q-cell to it, mix it up so you get a nice sort of colour and it's sort of nice and thick. And then, you know, this weather in the sun right here, I'll probably put like 3 or 4 drops of hardener in it, and then I'll essentially just pour it on, you know, and fill that little, fill the hole out a bit. Yeah, and that's sort of how you do it. So I'll show you how I go doing that. Righto, so a bit of resin there. Then I get this Q-cell and your batten screw, of course, trusty batten screw. Flick a bit of that Q-cell in there, do that, and mix all that in. So I'm happy with that now. Alright, now I'm gonna add one. Alright, that's a lot. Probably put in a bit more than I should have, but give that a good stir around now. Get it nice and mixed up. This will go off pretty quick because the sun's beating in on it. It's starting to thicken up. Now, I always tend to put a bit more in than you need because it's easier to have more, and or in my case, easier to have something thicker and grind it down to the size that I need, rather than to find out I didn't have enough and then have to do it again, because it does take some time. So yeah, I don't know if you can see that. It's a nice little mixture there. So I'm just going to pour that in now. You wait for this stuff to go off nice and hard, and then you can sand it back a little bit. So yeah, that's how it goes. Okay, another little tip. If you leave a little bit left in the container and put it in the same conditions that the board is in, you can sort of get a good idea as to how quickly it's going off. I mean, because you can sort of tilt it and, you know, get an idea. You can give it a bit of a squeeze, and See how firm it's becoming and how quickly that's sort of going off. I mean, because you've peeled in a little bit here, if you don't have a sander or something like that, essentially if that goes firm enough, you can pull that tape off early and try and scrape a little bit off with the Stanley knife to get it back to a sort of shape. But I don't really recommend that, because half the time sometimes the outside will harden up, you know, and the inside won't, and you try and take it off too early, and you'll essentially pull a big chunk out, and then you're spewing. You've got to start from scratch again, let it all go off, and it takes friggin' forever. So you're better off just letting it completely harden. And okay, so I'm going to do exactly what I told you not to do, because I'm super impatient, but I'm going to start pulling this tape off now. Like, that's rock solid, super hard to touch. It's only been like 15 minutes since I first put it in, honestly, that quick. So I'm going to start pulling this off now, just see how we look. Sit. Alright, so you can see the rough shape there. Okay, it's a bit sort of out of whack and a bit sort of wider than what you really want it. Sort of see around the edge there, a few lumps and bumps. You can see the underside. It's pretty good because the tape was pretty close to where it needed to be. We're just going to sand all that rough edge stuff off. You can see it's hanging over a little bit, and so I'll sand all that back and get the rough shape, and I'll take it back further than I need to. Yeah, just so once I start glassing it's all good. So you can see what I mean here. I mean, like, it's literally only been 10-15 minutes. It looks like it's been longer because we've got some pretty big trees of the neighbours, and they sort of cover up pretty quickly, but it really has only been about 15-20 minutes. So yeah, it's gone hard enough now that if you want to, you can start carving it back with a Stanley knife. If that's the way you want to do it, you can sort of get it back to where you want to, take the big chunks and edges off. So yeah, you can do a fair bit of shaping with the Stanley knife and some sandpaper and whatever, but I'm just going to get the grinder into it because it's so much quicker. Okay, so yeah, spent a bit of time sanding that back, grinding it all back and getting sort of the rough shape there. Okay, so running out of time. I've had a few phone calls, but yeah, managed to get this sanded it all back and got it to the rough shape that I pretty much wanted. So that's what we're looking at the moment. So basically I'll just cut some cloth, wrap it over that section now, small piece first and then go wider on the second piece, clear it in and then sand it all back. Okay, so my first bit, I've just cut a bit of cloth. It's going to wrap right around that edge, around both sides. I go a little bit wider. This is probably the thinner part first, and then the next layer will come out wider. And then yeah, just you sand it all back and she comes up pretty. Okay, starting to lose a little bit of light now, but yeah, you get your resin, pour it a little bit in. Oh, it's probably heaps. Grab your hardener, 3 or 4 drops, and then we do the standard mix up. Give her a good mix. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to pour a bit on. Like so. Let it drip off a bit. Then you're going to get your cloth. And you're going to stick her on. This is very hard to do one-handed. Pull it around. Okay, well that was a bit chaotic trying to do that one-handed, but yeah, basically you just wrap it around, pour your resin on, and then just try and squeeze all the bubbles out, and wrap it around nicely, curve it all around, get any little air pockets out, and yeah, I only do a thin layer to start with, like over the main part where it was damaged, and then what I'll do is I'll go wider with the next one. So the first layer covers pretty much like about 10 mil past where the damage was on either side all the way around, length, width on both sides, and then the next one will wrap over and come, you know, a little bit further, and then when I sand it all out it'll be nice and strong. So yeah, that's basically how you do it. I don't worry about too much of this stuff because I just sand all that back off, and you'll see it'll come up like brand new pretty much. So yeah, that's the underneath wrap around, and that's the edge. So yeah, just let that go off and then we'll sand it up and do the next one. Okay, so it's the next day. I let it go off overnight just because the shade and the air temperature started to cool down a fair bit, and prevented this from going off super quick, so I let it go hard overnight. I'm just pretty much going to sand all this edges off now and sort of smooth it out a little bit, get ready for the second wrap, which will come over a little bit further, and yeah, so I'll get that done now. Okay, so that's the first sand back. Sort of sanded, blended that edge in there, and then I'm just giving it a light sand over the top of this fiberglass here just to take the lumps and bumps off. I've done it on both sides. Pretty much got the shape there that I want. Pretty much looking good there so far, so we'll just get the next wrap over and put another coat over it, and then do exactly the same thing. Okay, you can see there I've applied that second coat, sort of wrapped it over a little bit further and extended it a bit further out. Sort of done that on both sides so it goes a bit wider, and yeah, we'll let that go off and then give her a sand back, and then another clear coat over the top. I might add a little bit of Q-cell in there just to whiten it up, just so you can't see the fiberglass there, and then give it a good sand back, and she's all done like brand new again. Okay, that's all sanded back now, and pretty much it's all in shape, ready for, I'm just going to mix up some resin and like paintbrush it on. I'll put some Q-cell in it just to give it a bit of a white colour, and yeah, then let it go off and get ready to sand it. So okay, so that's the final coat with like just the plain resin with a bit of Q-cell in it, brushed on, and then I'm just going to let that harden off and then give her a nice sand back, and she should be all good to go. Okay, so I've just left that for a fair while and she's gone all nice and hard now. Still pretty smooth, so I'm just going to give that a bit of a sand back with some 180, and then I'll just go to some finer sandpaper, and that's pretty much it. I'll show you the finished product once it's finished. Okay, so once you've finished sanding it up and making it nice and tidy, and you're happy with the product there, I just get a bit of metho and give it a bit of a wipe down, get any of the dust off it. Finished product there, that's the rail that was damaged. You can see the shape's pretty good there, all around. Nice sort of finish on it. You can chuck some clear spray paint or something over it just to give it that added extra level, but I'm happy with that, so that should be fine. Nice and strong. Hopefully shouldn't happen again. See how we go.